Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It is Wednesday Word time. Before we dive into our Wednesday Word, I'd like to share a brief announcement with you all. The month of October across the nation is recognized as National Clergy Appreciation Month. What does that mean? That means we honor our pastors and those who have leadership over us during that month. And here at True Holiness Saints Center, we are excited to usher in the 29th anniversary of Pastor E.C. Maltbia and First Lady Natasha Maltbia. They have served 29 years faithful in the gospel ministry. So what are we doing? That morning, we will have our 9:30 in-house worship service. Immediately following that, we have a dedication service, a special dedication that we're really excited about here at True Holiness. And we're going to have our official 11 o'clock clergy appreciation service. I know he has impacted so many of you all that tune into our weekly broadcast as well as our weekly Wednesday words. And it would be a blessing and an honor for you all to join us as we celebrate the two that serve us so well. So that ties right into our theme this month here at True Holiness. During the month of October, with it being Clergy Appreciation, we decided on the theme, a lasting legacy. That's right, a lasting legacy that is taken from Proverbs 22, verse 1. And I'll be reading it tonight from the NIV version. And it says, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." A good name is what we're talking about, and leaving a lasting legacy. So the question that I'd like to propose to you tonight is, what legacy are you leaving behind? When we talk about legacy tonight, we're going to talk about ways that we can create a lasting legacy, ways that we can create a legacy that lives on far beyond our years. So the first thing that I'd like to mention, legacy comes in many forms when you look at the definition. They talk about legacy as it relates to financial wealth. They talk about legacy in multiple capacities. But again, tonight, I want to talk about legacy as it relates to what we are leaving behind, making sure that we're leaving a lasting legacy. So there are three things that I want to leave with you to remember in building a lasting legacy. The first thing that I think we should understand in leaving a lasting legacy is recognize and respond to the assignment. Recognize and respond to the assignment. Jeremiah 1:5 from the Amplified Version says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you and approved of you as my chosen instrument. And before you were born, I consecrated you to myself as my own. I have appointed you as a prophet to the nations." This is letting us know, just as Jeremiah, before he was ever conceived, before he was ever formed in his mother's womb, God knew him and had already chosen him. Likewise, so it is with us. Before we were ever thought about, before we were ever born or brought into this earth, God already knew us, and he had an assignment, he had a purpose, he had a call on our lives. So the first thing that we have to do is recognize that we're not just regular old anybody's. We're not people, just the nobodies out here trying to do things. No, we are chosen, called vessels of God, that he has placed an assignment on our life. Before we ever were thought about, before our mother ever met our father, before we were ever conceived or were thought of being conceived, God already knew that he had chosen us. God already knew that we would be here. God already knew this space, this place in time that we would be operating in the earth realm. And he wants us to make sure that we recognize that we're not just anybody, but we are people that are called on purpose, for purpose, and there's an assignment that God has for our life. Not only is it recognizing that there's a call on our life, recognizing that God has a plan and a purpose for us, it's also responding to that. Not just recognizing that it's there, but responding to the fact that I am somebody, There is a purpose for my life. This may be where I am right now, but I am walking forward into purpose. I am walking in my purpose. I'm walking forward into leaving something great behind because God has an assignment for me to accomplish right here in the earth realm. So the first thing that we have to do is recognize that God has a call on our life. We have an assignment. The assignment. It's kind of like, when we're in school. And I don't know about you all, but I wasn't too fond of homework, although I could do pretty good in the assignments that were given to me. But the assignments oftentimes were things that our teachers gave us to make sure that we were recalling correctly the things that we learned, the things that we were taught, the things that they had spoken in class that we may pick up on, or that we had been quizzed over. So it is with God. Part of our assignment is making sure that we're walking out his word the way that he wants us to walk out his word, that we are listening to him, that we are in communion with him. We have an assignment and we have to respond to that assignment. And our response to that is submission, accepting that God has called us and beginning to walk that purpose out. One of the things that was requested of us here at True Holiness during this month from our pastor, it wasn't another car, it wasn't another home, or it wasn't anything great or extensive, but it was greater than anything that we could ever imagine. He simply asked us to walk in our purpose. Walk in our purpose. And if you don't know or feel like you don't know what your purpose is, that's okay. Don't fret. Communion with God will allow you to be exposed to ultimately your purpose. So what does that mean for right now? That means being steadfast where you are right now, blooming right where you're planted right now. That's the first step in leaving a lasting legacy behind, making sure we recognize and respond to the assignment or the call that is on our life. The second thing in leaving a lasting legacy is remembering for us, quitting is not an option. Quitting is not an option. Having a good name and leaving a lasting legacy isn't something that just falls out of the sky. It isn't something that just happens. It is something that we have to continuously work towards, which means we have to put in some work. We have to put in some effort. There are times to where we have to sacrifice. We may have to sacrifice some of the things we want for some of the things that we need. We may have to push our plate back. There are things that come in life for us, as we're building this legacy that may challenge us. There are things that may happen that may disappoint us. There are things that can throw us so much so off course to where we want to throw up our hands and throw in the towel and say, forget it, I quit. But for leaving a lasting legacy, quitting is not an option. You don't have an option to quit. So our social media quote is, you don't have the option to quit. You don't have the option to give up. You don't have the option to throw in the towel. I know that it gets hard. I know that discouragement comes. I know sometimes leading people, it can be the most frustrating thing ever. But when you're walking in the assignment that God has called you to walk in, when you're walking in the purpose that he's called you to walk in, it is not always easy. And there are times you may want to give up. There are times you may want to clap back real quick. But quitting is not an option for us. Let's look at Jeremiah 20:9. I know I'm in Jeremiah a little bit, but Jeremiah has some good nuggets in his book. Jeremiah 20:9 from the NIV says, but if I say, I will not mention his word or speak any more in his name, if I say I'm going to walk away from my purpose, if I say I'm going to walk away from my assignment, his word is in my heart is like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. Here we have Jeremiah basically saying, you know what? I'm sick of these folks. I'm sick of carrying this mantle. I'm tired of being the bigger person. I'm tired of the one putting in all of the sweat while everybody else is not able, they're reaping the benefits, but they're not putting in the hard work. But he had to remind himself that I may get tired at sometimes, but when I feel like I want to give up, when I feel like I want to quit, when I feel like I want to throw in the towel, I cannot, because that purpose, that legacy that I'm walking out, that thing that God has birthed within me I cannot let it go. It's in me like fire. I say I'm going to shut up, but I can't hold it in because it just comes out because it's in me. And what's in you, you can't hold back. It has to come out. There are things in you that you have not tapped into just yet. You're walking into the purpose of that thing. You're walking as God is leading you, but you haven't tapped into it yet. But that's part of it. When you tap into that thing, everything seems a little bit better at that moment, but you still got to keep going because we're not leaving something that's going to fly away. We're not leaving something that's going to be a fly-by-night type thing. We're leaving something that's going to be impressionable and lasting far after we are gone. So we're leaving a lasting legacy behind. So how do I do that? How do I not quit when I'm tired, Shawana? How do I not give up when I'm discouraged and I'm trying all that I can and I can see some of the fruit of my labor, but I don't see the full fruition of the purpose or the word that I know that God has given me in this legacy, in this life, in this thing that I'm leaving behind. And let's stop for a moment and look at legacy. A lot of times we look at legacy as being being materialistic things. But what are you leaving that you have impressed on the heart of people? Are you leaving a legacy of love? Are you leaving a legacy of people that you have helped along the way? So when you look back and their life continues to evolve and they've helped somebody over here, your legacy is still living on through the life that you impressed. What are we leaving as it relates to legacy? So Jeremiah couldn't quit. But not even just Jeremiah, Jesus himself. What do I do when I want to quit and give up? Jesus is a good example of that. Or what do I do when I'm in those spaces that I just want to say, forget it, because I can't do this anymore. But I want to build a legacy, but I'm frustrated. I want to build a legacy, but I don't feel like am capable of doing it myself. Listen to what Jesus said in John 4:31-34. Meanwhile, his disciples urged him, Rabbi, eat something. Jesus hadn't eaten. He had been fasting. He didn't want no food. But he said to them, I have food to eat that you know nothing about. Then his disciples said to each other, could someone have brought him food? My food, said Jesus, is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. So what do I want? How do I overcome when I'm ready to give up and when I want to throw in the towel? We have to do as Jesus did in order to strengthen ourselves. Jesus said, hey, don't worry about it. Let me get into my spiritual food. My will is to do the will of him that sent me, and not just do the will, but I got to finish the work. And that's why we can't quit, because there's a work that God has for me. There's a work that God has for you. There's a legacy that he has for us to leave behind to where quitting is not an option. So when you feel yourself getting discouraged, when you feel yourself ready to throw in the towel, when you feel yourself saying, I can't push or press anymore, you have to remember this is so much bigger than me. This is so far beyond me. And I have to do the will of the Father. And not only that, it's a work I got to complete. Oh no, I can't entertain the small things or the things that came to throw me off track or the distractions that have come my way. I have a work that I have to finish. And finally, I'll leave you with this. Remember to celebrate the small victories. I'll leave you with the quote from the unknown, but it's something that has been pressed in my heart. Give yourself permission to be excited and celebrate small victories because they are subtly guiding the way. Don't wait till you get to the finish line to celebrate. You can celebrate right now. You can look at the little things that you're doing along the way. The little things are the things that mean so much. The forgiveness, the love, the work that you're doing for your family when it seems like it's unappreciated. You're leaving something lasting, some principles, a work ethic behind. Celebrate the small victories because they are subtly leading the way. So again, there's a legacy, that we all have to leave in this earth. How will you leave a lasting legacy? Will it be something that's remembered to where your name is great long down the road when you're old in years? Will your legacy still be great? Or will you be remembered for not doing so much? And when I say not doing so much, it's not so much these big things that we do, but are you doing the will of the Father to where the legacy that he has implanted in you will be left behind? God bless you.